Good evening and welcome to the Drive at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station. I'm your host, Roman, and we have a terrific show planned for you today. Don't forget to stay tuned to the Drive at 5 for Warriors Talk at 6 p.m. Tonight, my guest is an organization that is staying true to peace. So for me to say more, just more words from Roman, I'm going to let them to introduce themselves and their position and the organization, starting with you, sir.
Oh, my name is Demario. I guess you could say COO or Chief Operating Officer, and I work with Shai Jerusalem. Been doing this work for about 15, 20 years with the team, and we're excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
And what is your background, sir?
Well, I grew up in Chicago. I was a part of the streets, and our whole movement is about going from the streets to saving the streets, going from being a part of the problem to being a part of the solution. So that's mainly what I'm about personally. Been to prison, been to a lot of situations that a lot of people in urban areas have dealt with. And now we want to be a part of solving the problems that we see in the streets today.
Okay. You, sir?
Jeff Maxwell, the founder of the Chicago Peace Initiative, which the Shai Jerusalem Project is a byproduct of the actual movement.
In your background?
My background, well, I got 27 years worth of outreach, stemming from, I did School of the Prophets for 13 years in the prison, county jail, the juvenile detention, street ministry, food pantry, soup kitchens, nursing homes, you name whatever outreach I've been participating in every aspect of outreach.
Hi, I see you again, Roma.
No.
Remember us from just last year on my first toy drive for I'm the Way to Truth and Life Outreach Ministry. This is Rosella Bynum, and I am in the financial business, and I am the CFO, Chief Financial Officer for the Shai Jerusalem organization. And of course, what I like to do is what they do in the business world. Let's merge business like Taco Bell did with Kentucky Fried Chicken. Some wanted chicken and some wanted taco. So I'm like, hey, I see a great vision here
I'm the
that
type
I read.
of brother that wants both.
and that's why you can come over to Shai Jerusalem, and we're going to tell you more about that and how our 12 gates are established. And we are asking, just all of the community to come on in. Okay, I'm going to leave that other part for some other people later. But just to feedback on what you said, who we are. I've been here. This is my second time here in your radio, Intellectual Radio. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for opening up these doors so that we can talk about great things for the communities and change.
No problem. Give us a quick update since the last time you've been on Drive.
Yes. Well, since the last update, of course, KPGR, which is a branding company by Kwesi, the poet, known for the spoken word. He's doing a great job with collaboration and with different organizations. So he is actually the one who introduced me to Shai Jerusalem. And when I met these great, intelligent men and their vision, I was very impressed. Like, they are truly making a difference. They are the church that's outside of the four walls, that's doing the work on the highways and byways. I'm like, this is not religion or tradition. This is actually what you call kingdom movement into making change. Chirac, what they want to label our Chicago to a war zone, but they are saying, no, it's not. This is the city of peace. We're bringing peace, and we're drawing the lost, those rejected, those men and young boys and girls who people want to look like, hey, there's no hope. Well, we're bringing hope back. And I love that this organization is located in Inglewood of Chicago with one of the roughest areas that's been labeled. And they say, hey, we have life here. We're speaking life here. And so I was like, why wouldn't my organization bridge with theirs and really help to press this movement and bring in some, people that can really help this movement with the vision?
All right.
My name is Rick Simmons. I'm the Director of Economics. My background is finance. I've been in lending for over 20 years, real estate, also development, business consulting. So that's pretty much my background.
All right. Now tell me your mission. Now, collectively, if I may, besides Miss Vidam here, you guys got kind of almost like 70 years of street experience or more. Am I correct or incorrect?
That's correct.
That's
Correct.
correct.
All right. Tell me about the streets of Chicago and how your organization can make a difference. Because nowadays, kids are not listening to adults. Kids not listening to you, my man. They're not listening to you, even though you've been there. How your organization can be effective.
So one thing that I did mention is I started working for DCFS in 2008.
That's the most important one you should mention.
So yeah, but before that, one of my first outreach assignments was New Faith Baptist Church in Matson, Illinois in 2005. I taught youth child evangelism. So I've always been relevant. And what you find out is I've also established Christian clubs in 2014 in 4 different high schools in Inglewood community. I've always had a ear for the youth. I've always been that big homie, looked upon, because I always stay relevant, not just with my language, my lingo, how I looked has always been impressive to the youth. But on a bigger picture, you can have 20 adults in one room and the youth will only respond to a voice of a father. And so I remember a guy telling me, he said, Jeff, how can you go to random youth, the worst youth, because I only work with the worst. How can you go to the worst youth and they take to you immediately? And my response was, they're only going to respond to the voice of a father.
Give you an example. I teach, and sometimes it's like, hey brother, sit down. Sit down, man. Can you please sit down? If I ask you again, sit your butt down. They respond to that, then and I want to know why.
Because little boys gonna sit down when grown men walk in the house.
Amen.
So
you have to raise your voice
that's
in order to be effective.
That's apostolic in the spiritual realm, but in the natural realm, that's all they understand. Understand is our youth start participating in gangs or being introduced to the gangs, jumping off the porch, so to speak, at 12 years old. So all they know is the gang leaders yelling at them. See, the gang leaders, they're not gonna ask, they're gonna tell and demand, because the streets is delegatory. So if you don't have that disposition, you're going to get ran over. In the places that I did ministry, outreach, life skills, vocational training, the juvenile detention centers, if you coming in, they going to smell softness. But I'm coming in looking like them, looking more neater, more authentic than the guys that they in the streets with. So, give you an example. When I was going to the high schools, they notice it. They pay attention to details. They like, well, every time he coming, he got one key. So they know I'm driving foreign. They know what it is. They know I got more true religion at the time. It was a time I had more true religion than the rappers. I had more true religion than Dirk and Keith and them at the time. So staying relevant, that $400 cologne that they already know what it is. So
instead of one on Madison and Pulaski.
Madison Pulaski is my playground, because in doing prison ministry for 13 years, it's more guys that been in the prison, the Cook County Jail, from Madison Pulaski than anybody in the whole Chicago, if you look at the numbers. So if I go on Madison Pulaski right now, 3 out of 10 guys gonna say, I know him, that's Lil Jeff. Make sure he's safe, because he came to see me years and my mama never came to see me.
You're the CEO.
COO.
CEO. CEO. COO.
ACO.
Oh,
Okay, that's him.
It's
okay. My bad. How
He's
you
US.
heard the truth? What about your experience?
with the streets.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in terms of the youth, when you talk about they don't listen to adults, I think it's because one thing that Jeff and I talked about, one thing that he promotes and I'm a part of is the apology tour. I think that youth don't respond because we haven't apologized. Because when you think about the 70s and 80s children, which we are a part of, we neglected to take care of our youth.
Can
And
you elaborate a little bit more on the apology? Are you apologizing for being the black men neglecting, or are you apologizing on behalf of the black community? Which one?
both.
Both.
Because essentially what happened is when our communities got flooded with drugs and when they took men out of the homes, and that was by design, all these things happen. That's when you start to see the decline in the nuclear family in black communities. And so when you begin to see that decline, we didn't know, no one knew how to address that. And what we realized, what we see is that there was a ball dropped. And so what we're doing is picking up the mantle and we are apologizing to the youth. So we're giving them an apology first and saying, hey, we're sorry, as opposed to going to them and saying, do X, Y, Z, because they're not going to listen to you. But if you apologize and if you show them that you care, because a lot of times people don't care what you say until they know that you care, and so that's what we're trying to do is open up, give them a pathway, give them a platform to understand first that we understand where they are, but second, we understand how they got there. And once children see that, once youth see that, and then they connect with the swag and the dress and all of that, then they also can relate to where we are as, middle-aged men now. So I think there's a lot of layers to it, but it starts with us apologizing to them, giving them a platform to go ahead and express themselves and accept our apology so that they can be activated to do what they're called to do.
If I'm listening to IntellectualRadio.com right now, I would say I heard the response of the reason why you're apologizing. But why do we have to apologize and they're doing the crime? They're doing the teen meetups. They're looting. People are scared of going downtown.
Right.
They're doing God knows what. Why are we apologizing to them and mama is not there, daddy is not there, and then the grandmom, the grandpa, and sometimes the mothers, they're at wit's end, and sometimes the educators. Now, I'm looking at it from all angles, and not to beat you guys up. It's basically saying, if I'm listening, I want to know why.
Right.
Because I don't think I need to apologize for a damn thing.
Mhm.
Why should you?
But it's a byproduct of rejection.
Mhm.
So you're talking about the byproduct. What you're seeing, smashing, grabbing, carjacking,
Right.
that's a byproduct of rejection. So there's a scripture that said that the fathers have eaten sour grapes. Now the children's teeth are set on the edge.
Mhm.
What that means is absentee fathers, like you just said, or the father is in jail, or the mom and dad aren't together no more. What's going on is we're, as the community, from the glasses that from what you're seeing in it from, is, man, that's an effect of the kids acting out of rejection. They're rejected. They are the rejected stones. So in order for them, the spirit of rejection must first be removed from them before them to operate, like you just said, in their real identity. And so that's why you can't deal with crime even unless you deal with what's underneath crime. You can't deal with poverty unless you first deal with what's underneath poverty. And so with 27 years of comprehensive hands-on, they say the ones that's closer to the problem 9 times out of 10 can give you the solution. And so really no one, and I'm not gonna say no one to screen us four out, but you just said yourself, 70 years worth of groundwork we would come up with some tangible solutions for this problem. We're not here to waste nobody's time. We didn't come after 3 years and say, hey, we got a comprehensive model. It took 27 years for this baby to come out the oven for us to even come to this platform to say, hey, y'all, let's collectively come together. So to answer your question in a nutshell, no, it's not the parents' fault. It's not the grandma fault, because all they doing, they just trying to get in place of what they need. But without the voice of the father, it's going to always go the wrong way, because the father voice is the voice of direction for the kids. It's also the voice of protection for the kids. That's why when we see the studies, we're going to see an absentee and a voice of correction, like he said. So the bottom line is we have to deal with what's the byproduct. We can't deal with that, because look what we've done for all these years. We've been trying to come up with tangible solutions to solve a spiritual problem. That's why I start with rejection. And when we start there collectively, because this is the truth. The truth is they inherited this disposition. Mm-hmm. They inherited, Scarface said, my daddy was a drug dealer. I'm gonna be a dope man. So in our communities, in the disinvested communities, we never seen a doctor. We only seen the dope man. We only seen hypes. We only seen dope things. So we had nothing else to model. We never, and I'm not talking about your generation.
No, I'm not saying that.
Right.
Only thing I can say is I can understand when you say no doctor. But at the same token, you have reruns of The Cosby Show. At the same token, you have reruns of A Different World.
Who's watching TV? Your mama not there. Who's watching TV? Your mama not there.
It's on the internet.
Your mother not there. Ain't no food in your stomach. So I'm gonna watch TV, or I'm gonna go ahead and go get a pill and sell it.
I want to get a woman's perspective on this. A statistic came out recently that close to 75 to 80% of men that are currently in Cook County Jail involves with a woman. What do you think about that statistic?
Well, let me start with my childhood. My father died of cirrhosis of the liver when I was about 8 years old. He also was on drugs. I came from a very dysfunctional home. My mother birthed 9 children, but at that time was 7. I was the baby. She had to work lots of hours to provide for us, and it was a lot of stress on her. So imagine she's gone all day working. My dad is, I don't know where he is. My older sisters and brothers that's older than me, that was teenagers at the time, they didn't have direction from dad, from the father. So of course they got involved with peer pressure of things. Then also because of the rejection and other things that was introduced, you get involved with sexuality of intimacy, wanting to be loved. So you think sex is the key. You're introduced to pornography. There's also molestation that takes place. Or my brother go out and the older man who is there shows him love. And now, because this older man showed him love, maybe he was fondled with by this older man, but he looked up to him. These are real stories. And so now he, the only man that showed him love that he thought was his father at one time, or he was a good friend, introduced him to a nice soft touch. And that became his norm. And he began to develop the lust and the addiction of sexual addiction that made him feel good for the rejection. Also, far as the females, we looked at our mom working hard all day long. So time she come home, she's tired, she's ready to go to bed. So now we have maybe my older brother who's trying to play a role of a father where he never been fathered. And so now the anger and all the aggressiveness come out on each other. And there's fights in the home. There's police being called, throughout the week, so the police become like this model you look up to because you see the action and you want some kind of attention. So these are the realities of what happens in dysfunctional homes. And you wonder why you have these addictions, you have all this crime and everything that happen. Not making an excuse, but the root cause again. But that's my experience growing up.
What is your perspective? What is your perspective? What you see on the streets currently?
Well, I mean, I agree with the perspectives of my brothers. I mean, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I wasn't necessarily in the streets. I was fortunate personally. I was strong educationally. I was excelled in gifted programs. So my father had me in different programs in the summer, so I didn't have to necessarily be in the streets. But my peers, they didn't have fathers in the homes. They were able to do pretty much whatever they wanted to do, and oftentimes they drifted to drugs, crime, and so being a part of this movement, we look to solve that problem by we call it the 12 gates, but by repairing the breaches in the gates that are within our community. And like Rio and Jeff stated, helping the youth let their guards down with an apology, right? Because before any relationship could be mended, you need an apology. And so that's what I feel.
Overall, your organization, there's a lot of organizations that's out there. How yours going to help? A lot of people would sit there and say, we're out here for real, and you don't barely see them, barely hear. And I'm not saying your organization is that or about to, but what separates you?
Oh, the strength of our initiative, of the Jerusalem project, the strength of the project is the ones that's perpetrating the crimes are about to be the ones protecting the city. The ones that been the ones that been dominating the crimes are about to be the victors now. They about to go from victims to vanguards. That's the strength. The biggest grace for my team, myself, is having the grace, the enablement to tame the young lions. Again, it comes back to what we call the it factor, the IT. When I worked for DCFS, the staff couldn't do nothing with them kids. They was operating so heavy with this. Just imagine a kid with no mother, no dad. Imagine a kid never had a hug from a mother. Now, when you talk about the stats, I did prison ministry for 13 years. So I'm a numbers man. 50% of the guys that's in prison are, I would say close to 50% of the guys that go back and forth are wards of the state. So they already operate in that spirit of rejection because they don't have nothing to lose. No mom writing them, no mom coming to visit them when the foster parent doing who knows what, only trying to get a check for them. So prison, not even punishment. That's home, second home. They get treated better and more safe and secure there than they are on the streets. And look at this, the strength of our initiative. What we're doing, we're raising up what we call a youth peace army. You're talking about Atlanta separation. You've never even heard of that before. A youth peace army. And this peace army are going to be the rejected stones. Those that know society don't, the business owner saying, who can handle those kids, them smash and grabbers? Who can handle them carjackers? I have the proof of concept over 27 years. That's why they call me the general. Because I'm the one that's graced to deal with these kids with a proof of concept. These same kids in DCFS, I had them, they pants up, carrying Bibles proudly, not cursing. They never seen me curse, never heard me curse. They only seen me with the Bible. So they following the leader. We have the proof of concept. That's why we're here. We want to put steroids on it. We're about to make it citywide. 77 neighborhoods, 70 youth army. The number 70 is the number of a nation. And so what we're doing is we're giving the youth something to look at, because what happened with the gangs, myself, DeMario, we sink the gang. This is all we talking about new disciples. We talking about a army that a youth that's involved in the streets can look at and say, man, they more harder than the streets. When I was doing Bible study in the county jail, people wanted to be a part of my organization because my organization was doodling on the Folks Nation, was doodling on the Association Nation, was doodling on the Black Peace Stone Nation. So that's why we topped them.
I mean, literally.
Yeah,
No,
literally.
not
Literally.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is they looked at me and said, he represent God. They more broker than him. Why would I want to be broke? Why I want to be a bum, a nerd, a goofy, when Buddy right here is that dude. When the feds came to get me, I ain't telling nobody. That's the model. But all of the guys, they called it the guys, and really the girls. So you got to understand, when you got that model right in front of you, that's what you want to be like. So you can't, so this youth army that's about to raise up, that people say they can't tame, just because it never happened before, don't mean it's not happening. We taking what's been done underground for 27 years, and we pulling it overground.
What is your thoughts on that?
On what he just said,
Mhm.
or the question? I'm trying to what he just said.
Yes.
It's spot on. Everything that we do, biblically speaking, people may think it's oxymoronic, like it's topsy-turvy. But those that are last shall be first, right? Those that were neglected, they're going to be the ones that are respected. So it's about understanding we can't change the youth without doing something on the inside. That's why he talks about the underground before the overground. Before there can be an outward work, there has to be an inner work. And so when we come into these communities and talk to these young people, it's about establishing who they are, their identity within themselves, so that they understand who they are. And then that carries over into the outer work, into them respecting their elders, respecting their fellow man, and respecting themselves, respecting their God, and respecting their purpose. All these things happen from the inside, then out. I think what happens is a lot of times we as adults, we come in and talk to these youth about what they need to do. We talk about the what. We don't deal with the why. We don't deal with the how. We don't deal with the deeper parts of a person to get them to understand why they need to do these things, not just being told to do them, but why it is important for them to do them. And then also connecting with them, allowing them to have a platform to speak their minds, allowing them to have a platform to be honest about how they feel and how they're dealing with things in their everyday lives. And once they understand that and have that type of connection with someone, then, the sky's the limit. And so that's what I believe. That's what we've been a part of for years. And then we also come from the street. So we understand the reason why I joined the gang was because it made me feel good. I felt like it was a family, and that's what was important to me. I'm sorry.
The city of peace. Right now, they saying crime is down. Homicides are down. But carjacking is up tremendously.
Sure.
How can the city of peace, and it seems like it's not peaceful.
Yeah.
You go downtown, you can sleep downtown and nobody wouldn't bother you back in the day.
Mhm.
You can't do that no more.
So why you think they down there? They trying to eat. So you can't lead an army you can't feed. When you said that crime is down, homicide is down, it's because crack is down. You know why crack is down? Because hypes ain't worked in 4 years. So this is byproduct conversation. My ears stay to the streets. That's why I've been relevant. So of course crime is down, because the crackhead ain't worked in 4 years, 5 years, the recession. So now you can't sell crack like me and Rio did and end up with Fed cases. You got a carjack, because that's where the money at. They are trying to eat. They didn't took all of the TVs on the south side and on the west side. They marching
Off
north
the
now.
trains.
Yeah. Now they're marching north. Now they're marching north to eat. But guess what?
That's the same thing
Mhm.
the mayor said.
Mhm.
When a reporter basically said why children are doing it, he basically said, well, they got to eat.
They got to eat. So
Is that the philosophy now?
no, that's the reality. But let me say this. We're not here to talk about the problem, because we already know. We're here to tell you guys the solution. We have an idea that God gave me in 2006. It's called corporatizing the streets, incorporating the streets. And so it's a model of interception that we already see with Amazon. What Amazon did, they intercepted the money from Walmart. Walmart out of there now. Now Amazon is the only person producing this money. We're about to intercept the money on the ground from Amazon, corporatizing the streets. It gives us the capacity to service all of the youth at the same time to make money with products that's already being served in our communities. We're about to intercept the money. Every kid 8 years old to 17-year-old gonna get a chance to eat through this model.
You're the financial person.
No,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
economics, but yeah, go ahead.
Economic person. Right now, and I'm bringing this up for a reason. Organizations, not-for-profit organizations, and I cannot speak for this organization, are facing financial turmoil to be effective. What would you recommend to some of these organizations and what your organization is doing to say, even though Trump has cut the financial, whatever it is, and the state has cut the financial, whatever it is, what should they do?
Well, first off, not depend on the state. Our model, we have a sustainable model. Just like what Jeff was telling you about corporatizing the streets, that's selling products that can produce revenue. So every gate, we have 12 gates, and each gate will be able to take care of itself. We have an economic gate, which corporatizing the streets falls under that gate. We have a staffing company, transportation company, different business models that function in partnership with the nonprofit. So that's important to be able to be sustainable, right, and not dependent on government entities for resources. Now, we are working on, applying for grants, et cetera. But once we get the momentum, our goal is to not need any more revenue from, grants and things. Not that we won't take it, but we want to be able to produce our own economy. And so by selling products, creating businesses within our community, even with the economic arm, the goal is to invest and establish at least 50 businesses within our community in Inglewood, bringing them the literacy. That's one of the things we focus on. Jeff and Rio have been talking a lot about like spiritual literacy, but in the economic arm, we focus on financial literacy, credit literacy, real estate literacy, and business literacy, because you all know in our communities, we're not taught those things at the kitchen table. We're not exposed to these different avenues. And so we believe that if we start educating, we give them opportunity, and then we educate, and then they could, we can continue to excel, and for us, being able to provide these resources, they'll help us to create revenue as well to invest back in the community.
When they brought this idea to you to partner, what made you say yes?
I looked at their vision and I compared it to the local churches. We have probably 10 to 15 storefronts from the west side to the south side. Like on every block, you see a church. And I believe if you are, some of us that are spirit-filled, believe there is a God or a higher power or whatever that might be for you. Growing up and understanding that I was stuck in a very religious, traditional background, and seeing my mother, who wasn't in the church, taking families in and letting them stay with us and taking the mentally ill in. And always we had guests in our home that we brought in and fed. So to me, she was doing the work. So I had to compare that to what are we doing, in the churches? We are preaching the Bible, the word of God, we say, but are we actually being the arms and feet in the highways and byways? And this model is we're challenging the church, since this is built on a spiritual foundation, as our brother Jeff said he carries his bottle inside the prison and the prison ministry and DCFS. And like with my ministry I'm a part of, I'm really just part of the prison ministry as well, going into the prisons to minister as a woman. So I see that as being out in the highways and byways. So this model is not bringing your young men, your young girls and boys into a traditional religious background, but it's bringing you into a new kingdom of what heaven is supposed to be manifest on earth. As we know, all our churchgoers out there who know Psalms 23, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, that will be done on earth as is in heaven. Well, we're saying, how are you going to let heaven be manifest on earth without being arms and legs? And that whosoever will let them come, that means there is no criteria of how you come. Oh, you gotta clean up first. Or, you got to change this. No, it's everyone. I don't care what kind of background you have. Jerusalem needs to be a place where you can get all of your mind, body, soul, and spirit, physically, spiritually, economically, your needs met without being judged, without being rejected and pushed off because you got to be a certain denomination or title. So that's what made me draw to this. I said, this motto is a spiritual motto. It is based on God's word, but there is no title to religion or tradition that anyone can come into the Jerusalem. And I found my place there to say I can make a difference because I understand what it is to be abused physically, mentally, sexual abuse, drugs, all these experiences and what I saw growing up. So I believe I'm making a difference by being the body of Christ in this organization.
One of the things that we talk about violence, and you mentioned DCFS, and I want to bring you in on this as well. Here's the question. There are so many people under DCFS custody, but we're not discussing teen homelessness.
Mhm.
It's such a problem in the state of Illinois, especially in Cook County.
Sure.
People are committing crimes just to get
Sure.
a shelter. Describe that to us and how your organization plans
So-
to help
so,
teen homeless.
Again, for the last 10 years, I've been giving the jobs out through the DeBoer Berry Staff Agency. One of the things in the disinvested communities, if you don't have a staff agency inside of a disinvested community, then you're wasting your time. Okay, what organization? You can't talk about
What you mean by that?
you can't talk about crime and homelessness and not have a conversation about economics / gainful employment. Because gainful employment is the solvent for adequate housing. Gainful employment is the solvent. No one, the stick up man is not out there sticking people up for practice. He or she does not have what it takes to get gainful employment. So since 2015, I've given over 3,700 jobs in the last 10 years. Obama ain't gave out that many jobs in the community. No drug screen, no background screen, no way of transportation. They come out of jail, call me, the next day they start working. No one has that. That's not job readiness. That's not workforce development. That's job placement. That separates. So we have to put steroids on that model. We have tapped into the warehouse space because the warehouse has numerically, mathematically, they the only one have the capacity to even give out 30,000 jobs. So with the migrants coming out in this season, we replace that with the return to citizens, the 30,000 that come out every year. And that's how you solve your housing with teen housing, because 18 and up, you get the job. The barriers, most of our youth can't get a job because they still smoking, so they're going to drop dirty. Them jobs, my job's still going to give you the job. You got a background already from your juvenile, you can still get the job, and we got the transportation, so you still can get the job. So the three barriers that's stopping people from getting a job, to have gainful employment, to deal with housing, we got that solution already. We just got to put steroids on it. That's why we're here. We got solutions.
What you think about that? People talk to you and say, hey, the reason I'm out here on these streets is because I need a job.
Yeah, that's facts. I think that Jerusalem and the Chicago Peace Organization is basically it's a holistic model, and I think what we have to understand is that there's a natural and spiritual component to it. So there's natural needs that need to be met. There's also spiritual needs that need to be met. And so what we do is come in and tackle both of those simultaneously. So we look at your spiritual identity and teach you about who you are in your spirit man. But then we also give you, like Jeff was referring to, we give you natural resources, how to start working, how to do X, Y, Z, because the whole model, without getting too technical or biblical, is a king priest model, meaning that we are designed to live in this world, right? So we got to be of this world, meaning that we got to work, we got to be able to provide for ourselves, but we are also citizens of heaven, and ultimately. And so there's that element that has to be activated in us, that has to be realized in us in real time. So we have to understand that we're always doing two things at once. We're always living simultaneously, trying to be the spirit person that we are called to be, but also being the natural person and excelling at both. And so that's something that we bring to the table. And that's why we believe that this model is a holistic model, that it makes sense not only spiritually, but naturally, and that it is the solution to the ills that we're dealing with in the streets today.
You know, one of the things that I find, and I found this out the hard way, brothers was coming up to me, and I was like, you sure you got the right brother? You know? And
What were they saying to you?
yeah, I was getting to that. They were saying, they were saying, hey man, I'm trying to get this job, but I have a record.
Sure.
I'm trying to do this, but I have a record.
Sure.
For the past 3.5 years, I developed an expungement program. And what I found out that 95% of these brothers that comes in, and I'm finding out, and I did my research. Some of these organizations, they do presentations.
Mhm.
And the application is like this. I found attorneys like James Brown begging and pleading with them about the need. And expungement, I found out, is the key, as well as employment.
Mhm.
Some of them lie on their application and do it backwards and saying by the time they find out it'll be expunged. But sometimes you can't get it expunged, you got to get it sealed
Mhm.
or impounded. Describe to us, anyone, about these brothers that you meet out on the street saying, I'm trying to get my life together, but this, my record.
Sure. Well, Jerusalem, your record, come on. You've been to jail 3 times? Come on. You want to start work tomorrow? Come on. That's what I'm saying. For the last 10 years, I got that solvent. That's the whole point. So this is why we're here, because let's talk about expungement. I'm a 2-time loser. So never
I
stop me. But
Never
the point
call
I'm trying
yourself a loser.
well, the lingo that they use. So I've been to prison twice. That haven't stopped me from anything. So and that's why I'm able to do this for these young men and young women that get in these jams. Either in the old, I had a guy right now called me 2 days ago, been gone for 20 years. I know he don't know how to fill out no application. That's the hardest part for the Jerusalem project, is the actual getting that person, that client, to get his application filled. Once they find a cousin and a niece that can get the application, they straight, they good, making gainful employment. So this exists right now. They don't want the narrative. They don't want people even to know I exist, because if they know this exists, what's gonna happen on 26 in California? $42,000 gone. You get where I'm coming from? So this is why we're here. We are coming overground, letting the people know what's been going down underground. We're now giving the city access to these resources so we can kill this crime. And so that's why it's so important. It's imperative for them to know, just in case your expungement, because really with expungement, that's really misdemeanor. 80% of the people that go for expungement don't even qualify for it. So this is why you got to have the relationships with the factories. You got to have innovative corporatizing the streets models, which is a Black Wall Street model. You got to have these things in place, because this says, even though I got this background, I still can have gainful employment because of Jerusalem.
We're running out of time, but you guys have an event that's coming up. So please describe the event that's coming up.
We have an event June the 28th at 838 West Marquette in the Inglewood community, and it's called Welcome to Jerusalem. And so the event is a fundraiser for the youth, and we'll also be showcasing, or we call it the Taste of Jerusalem, showcasing our 12 gates, giving people some insight on the different gates that we have and how they can participate, and also, how they could buy a brick and rebuild the city. We are going to launch something called the Jerusalem Challenge, which we're challenging the city to become a peace partner and buy a brick from us to help rebuild the city. And we're looking to sell 1 million bricks.
All right. So what I'm going
the time
to do
is from noon to 3.
Noon to 3.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go each down how they can get in contact with you and the phone number or website.
You can go to Jerusalem on the Facebook page right now. I think that's the one that I would promote. I know they have some other ones that you can go to, but is it Jerusalem?
Yeah, just Jerusalem, Jerusalem on
Yeah.
Facebook. You can just spell out the word. Our website will be live in a couple of days because we took it down. We revamped some things. And then we also on the website, on the social media, we'll have the tickets, the opportunity to, donate. We got free tickets. The event itself is free, so people can just come out. But we are looking for support to support the youth.
And the location one more time?
It's 838 West Marquette. It's in Inglewood, on the south side of Chicago. And the time is from 12 to 3.
Tell them again about where they can go. The
website,
but the
so,
Facebook and the IG.
Yeah, we have Jerusalem, Chirusalem. So Salem, like Jerusalem, but just shy. And so we have, again, Facebook, Jerusalem, Chirusalam, for Facebook and Instagram. And then on Ticket Falcon, we have
Instagram.
Same thing.
Okay.
And then we have our fundraiser. We're doing it through Ticket Falcon. And so you could go to Ticket Falcon /E/Welcome to Jerusalem if you want to purchase a ticket.
Very quickly, how they can get in contact with you. And I know you have a separate organization.
Yes. I am the Way to Truth and Life Outreach Ministry. Of course, Facebook, Instagram, or of course, you can just do Fashion Lights Camera Action, just fashion_lights_action_. And you'll see all of the Jerusalem advertisement on my page as well. Or just go ahead on social media, Rosella Bynum, ROSELLA Bynum, BYNUM. Just go ahead and search my name and you'll see Lights Camera Action and the I Am the Way to Truth and Life Outreach Ministry with the Jerusalem information for your convenience. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you. Thank you. Well, hey, you're made for radio. I can tell you that much. Gentlemen, please don't be a stranger. Hopefully we can kind of discuss how we can connect together with my expungement program as well to help others, because we expunge over 300 people in the past 2.5 years. So
Amen. That's what's up.
What we're going to figure out a way to help each other. So don't be a stranger to Drive at 5. That's going to do it for us on this Monday evening. Thanks for Wanda for putting up with me today. Earl behind the scenes. You guys have a wonderful week.